Hello, welcome to this edition of A Conversation With. I'm Jim Marshall of the New Bedford Cable Network, and we are in studio today talking art. When you can't get a guest, you always call your neighbor up to come in to help you out. Suzanne De Vegh is the executive director of the New Bedford Art Museum. She is joining us here in studio, and I'm thrilled and happy to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
You know, we're not walking the dogs or anything like that, so this is good. We're actually dressed nicely and everything, you know. No, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. Lots going on. 2 years and just a couple of weeks for you as executive director of the Art Museum. And lots have happened. I mean, it's great. Assess for us your 2 years, just overall. You must be, I mean, I know it's busy. It's really busy for you guys there.
Well, we've made it busy. It was a little sleepy. And that was a direct result of the COVID era, and it was time to wake the museum up. And
That's a good way of putting it,
yeah. And I think that was for a lot of cultural institutions. You had to sort of build back with staff, you had to build back with programming, you had to create reasons for people to come out and visit. So we've been really thoughtful and should I say this, meticulous about what we're presenting. So I guess to begin with, our exhibits change just about every 2.5 months. And we now have 5 distinct spaces within the museum to show exhibitions. So that means we can show a great variety of things all at the same time. So someone may be interested in 19th century drawings, and someone else might be very interested in local artists, or someone who's very interested in cutting edge contemporary art, and we have an opportunity to show all of those things.
One of the things that you've done, I think, is it's not just, and I don't mean to put it, just simply pictures. You're using all art.
All media, or many different media.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, you've talked about dance, you've talked about...
Oh, yeah.
You have so many different things now that you're showcasing at the museum itself.
It was important to me that we be a center, a forum for conversation, and all of these different disciplines inform and inspire each other. So dancers are looking at literature and music and film and poetry and visual art, and all of these, we want to nurture all these different communities within New Bedford because they're here. And it's a wonderful way to sort of encourage cross-pollination.
I think it's interesting too that New Bedford is rare in that your community is New Bedford in the city, but really it's southeastern Massachusetts. There's not a lot of institutions around this area like the Art Museum itself, and it's really unique.
Thanks. We're working hard to create a distinctive personality in the South Coast. I bring a curatorial vision to the museum. We have like a 3-part focus. So it's local art. That's been the heart of the museum always, and it will continue to be that way. But also we have a wonderful relationship with the New Bedford Free Public Library, and we collaborate to create exhibitions that take select items from the City of New Bedford's collection and present them in provocative and inspiring ways that are relevant to the ideas of our time. So putting them in context with contemporary art often. And then another one of our sort of parts of our curatorial vision is creating a bridge to the larger art world, showing international art and showing cutting edge contemporary art that focuses on areas within the art world that are up and coming. Sound art, floral art, olfactory art, which engages your sense of smell, art made by people with disabilities about the experience of living with a disability. So areas in the art world that you might have to, you wouldn't necessarily find locally. You'd have to go to Boston or New York or Chicago or LA, but you can experience it in New Bedford.
Your career's taken you all over the world, really. Not really, it has. I'm curious from your standpoint, when you look at your career, to be in New Bedford now and at this institution, perception about things do they change because it really, the importance of the institution to the, not just the city, but to the community, it's got to be different. It's sort of a small town, but
Are you speaking about my perception or the perception
your
of the community?
perception from your career, when you look at your career and where you've been to doing this museum and this institution.
Well, I've been lucky throughout my career. I've built great partnerships at whatever institution I was employed, and I think New Bedford offers really amazing opportunities. We have so many folks in town who are willing to work together. We're all striving towards making New Bedford a vibrant, exciting, culturally rich place, and I feel it's easier in New Bedford. And we have and we will continue to do great things together. I love the partnership that I have with the library, and at the end of the fall, the beginning of the winter, we're doing an exhibition with them where we will showcase William Bradford's photographs and notebooks from expeditions to the Arctic. And those will be juxtaposed with contemporary art that talks about climate change, but also work made by the indigenous peoples of the Arctic area. And it will give viewers, all of us, an opportunity to consider different perspectives on the landscape and nature. It's a different worldview.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that.
That sounds really cool. I'm curious, from your experience, is it hard to get people interested in art when they're always on the phone, when they're always using technology? Because there's
I'd like to think it's a welcome break from that.
Yeah,
I'd like to think
yeah.
that, especially because it might be someone you know,
Yeah.
might be a local artist, or it might be something you've always wondered about. For example, we have the work of Maclina Gomes. She's a local artist. She does something called micro calligraphy, and she creates amazing portraits by taking text and writing it and creating patterns with it. But micro, as you would imagine, it's very, very small. And it's astounding, and it's quite beautiful. It's very moving. So embedded within the portrait, it's a way of creating layers of meaning.
Right. But it's just, I mean, there's so much. I think it's, from my perspective, when you look at that, a picture or a sculptor, or you're going to see a performance, because again, you've got singers and dancers there, and it's just a relief. It's a break from all the things that are being thrown at you.
It's a chance to sort of submit to an incredible aesthetic experience. It's a time for quiet reflection. It's also a time for lively conversation, because a lot of times what you might see is thought-provoking. It's stimulating. It affects you psychologically, intellectually, emotionally. You're going to want to share it with someone you care about. You might feel moved to just talk to someone who's right there in the gallery with you because you have a question. And I'm happy to tell you that now we have docents in our gallery. So if you come and see an exhibit, there's someone who can speak to you about what you're looking at.
How do you pick exhibits? How does that process work? Because I'm sure people are, again, you're changing every 2.5 months. You're probably already planning for next year, for crying out loud.
Well, we try to plan as far out as 3 years.
Wow.
We're not, I can't say that we have that right now, but that's the goal, to have a 3-year plan.
Is that normal?
Yes, for museums, 3 to 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you plan that far ahead?
I can't remember if we already spoke about this or not, but we have certain areas that we want to showcase.
Okay.
And so it's not difficult. You have maybe 12 exhibits a year, and you think about, okay, I want to showcase olfactory art, for example. So we are poised to present the first olfactory art exhibit at a museum in the world. It's going to be a group exhibit. And so that's contacting. Well, it's a lot of research.
Yeah.
It's a lot of thinking about what do you want to show and why? What are the objectives? You have to have some goals and some ideas. Are you wanting to make a statement, ask questions, give a historical overview? There are just certain guiding principles that you begin an exhibition with. And then it's research, and it's, oh, I know about this person, I really respect them. Sometimes they introduce you to other artists. That happens to me quite frequently.
And you're competing to get those exhibits with other institutions.
Well, we're creating original exhibitions, but I'm competing for artists.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because there was someone I contacted just yesterday who I will not be able to bring in for probably 2 years. And it's a negotiation, and I have something particular in mind that they've created that I would like to present. Yeah. So it's a lot of reading. It's a lot of looking at exhibits internationally and nationally. It's speaking to other artists. It's speaking to other curators. And everything is guided by an overarching vision that I've sort of established for the museum.
You said off camera, which I thought was interesting, it's competitive, which I found that fascinating. I mean, you don't think of that, but yeah, as you're talking, it is competitive.
Well, it's wonderful to be a first.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm proud to say that Alex Buchanan, this is his first museum exhibit, and I know when he becomes famous, and I really believe that. I think it's an honor as a local artist to have a solo exhibit. It's something very special. And I chose him because his work is extraordinary. And I know later he's going to be able to say that the New Bedford Art Museum helped launch his career.
Talk about something I know you're passionate about, the programs that right now the museum is offering. You've got so many range, for different ages, kids all the way to adults to whatever. I mean, you've got a lot going on. Talk about them right now.
Sure. I'm very proud of the work that we do within our community, primarily for children. The Artmobile is a beloved program that's been in existence for a long time, and this summer we're serving more children than ever. So if you don't know what the Artmobile is, it's like a treasure chest on wheels. It's packed with art supplies, and we have expert educators who are used to working with all ages of children, and they go out into the community, housing developments, schools, the public parks, especially during the summer where meals are offered. We're sort of working in tandem with them, so the kids can come out, have lunch, and have an art experience. So it's an opportunity to be creative. It's an opportunity to learn a technique, and to have a conversation with an educator, and to have fun with your peers.
It's going to be tough because I know that, and I'm generalizing now when you look across the country, art, music, those are some of the things that are being cut out of school budgets. And it puts more onus on an institution like you to provide that outlet for kids, young people.
Well, it's an essential part of living in a city that cares about its community. So I'm grateful to the city for their support, and we look for foundation grants to keep this work going, but also very much our local community. We rely on our annual appeal and our summer appeal to keep our community programs going.
And there's others too. I want you to touch on those.
Well,
You've got a lot of other programs.
We have Kids Zone on Sundays, which is a 3-hour afternoon program for families, and it often is themed related to our current exhibits, but also monthly national themes like Black History Month, Women's History Month, Indigenous Peoples Month, Pride. We really enjoy celebrating those and giving kids and families an opportunity to create together, to relax together, to create memories together.
One of the things too, and you kind of touched on it as well, I mean, you're a nonprofit, but you're trying to get the money to keep the institution open, and you're trying to get the grants and memberships. So there's a lot of different, I mean, it's funny, I know you're as you said off camera, you're an art history major and you love art, but there's a business side
Oh,
to the museum
absolutely.
too that people may not grasp because they're just going in. Talk about that. Talk about the business of the art museum. So for people, and especially if they want to join the membership.
Well, it's very much about offering a variety of experiences that nourish and nurture the community. And in order to do that, you have to have a solid membership base, but also corporate members and corporate sponsors. And so that's something we're pursuing energetically, and we have great friends in the community. We recently had our Chihuly Reveal celebration, and we attracted more corporate sponsors for that event than probably in the whole history of the Art Museum. But we're just at the beginning, because this is something that we have to sustain and maintain and grow in order for the museum to have stability and security. The Art Museum is an ever-evolving, there's nothing static about it, and we need a healthy revenue stream to keep it going.
Is it, I don't know if all museums are like that.
They are.
Are they? But the interesting thing too is that I always think that people in New Bedford, they don't know the Art Museum is there.
Oh, it's a little heartbreaking. I
And
I have folks who've grown up here and they say, "Oh, there's an art museum,
Yeah.
really?"
Yeah.
I'm like, it's just,
And the memberships aren't that expensive.
no. There's quite a range.
Correct.
There's basic memberships that are very affordable, and we really try to meet people where they are and give them opportunities to support the Art Museum by being members, by making donations, and we're a place for the community. We haven't really talked about the Enchanted Evenings suite of public programs. That's something we introduced, I want to say it's a little bit more than a year ago. And so it means we have poetry, dance, music, and film every month. So First Fridays, the live music, and all of these events are free.
Right.
And it's a way for local artists to get to know each other, and it's a great thing for anybody who loves the performing arts and the visual arts.
And as we talked about at the top of the show, your community, while it is New Bedford, it is really the whole southeastern Massachusetts, and as you said, to the Cape and what have you. So there's a wide area to grab people's attention who may not know or may not be able to go to an art museum up in Boston or, as you said off camera,
It's funny that you should say that, yeah.
RISD is the closest one, Rhode Island School of Design.
I was speaking to a woman from Hingham
Yep.
the other day, and she said, "Gosh, visiting you would be far easier than going to the MFA because the traffic." She had a school group,
Yeah.
and they were late, and there was a chance that they weren't going to be able to have an experience because they got caught in traffic. But she said, "Oh, it would be so much easier to come visit you." I said, "Please do. Don't neglect the MFA, but we'd love to host you. We'd love to speak to your students about what's on display and ask them questions and engage them." Because when students come, it's not just lecturing them, it's asking about, what are you looking at? Tell me about what you see. And it's by asking them questions, you draw them out, and they learn to observe closely, to analyze what they're looking at, to connect it to things that they already know. And then the experience becomes meaningful and memorable. And we try to do that with all our visitors.
Well, when I see the pictures of the Kid Zone on your website, I think it's interesting too because they're hands-on, and you can see the smiles on their faces. It's not, because I think when you're a kid, you're like, "Oh, I'm going to a museum. Oh, I got to look at pictures or whatever. It's boring." But the way you do the Kid Zone and stuff, they're really getting into it.
Yeah.
And I think you see the smiles on their faces, which is really the whole point.
Well, it shouldn't be like taking medicine. It should be fun. My daughter loves to come to the Art Museum with her friends. In fact, it surprises me a little bit because and it makes me really happy.
Yeah.
And so off hours, and they'll come and they'll be in the classroom and work with clay and paint, and we have a great setup. We have classrooms, we have the clay studio, we have a printing press, we have a loom. There's lots of different media you can explore. We have outstanding art educators. So we've expanded the classes, the workshops, the public programs, the education programs, the exhibits. We like to provide as many sort of excuses to come over and see us. Yeah.
That seems to be really something that you've really focused on, is getting the public, getting the community to come there, but also the hands-on. We're not just your old museum where you're just going to come in. We want you to be involved.
Yes, and that has a lot to do with the legacy of Artworks. They gave us that component, and that's something we've expanded, and I'm grateful that that was already part of the DNA of the museum, and we're just sort of plumping it up.
The other thing too is, you may go to the museum, as you said, you're changing things all the time. So you may go there, and so really, in a sense, each time you go is a different experience.
It is.
So there may be something there that, okay, but then you could go another time and it's like, wow. You can have a different experience every time you go there.
We're hoping people will come and see us on a weekly basis, because there's always a different dance performance, a different music performance, a different exhibit to see. And we have 5 different spaces, so if you don't like one exhibit, you might like another one.
Everybody's got different tastes.
Yeah,
So I mean, you can go in there and it's like, okay, I get it, but come next week or next month, because here's what you could like. And I think that's a good perspective to people to have. It is, every time you go, it's going to be totally different than the last time you came.
Yeah. And it's an opportunity to socialize, to see your friends, to talk about issues that are raised by looking at the art. We haven't talked about Alex Buchanan's show that's opening tonight during AHA. And the title of the exhibit is Aberration. And aberration means sort of deviating from the typical or the normal. And that refers to the way he uses materials and techniques. So Alex was a mariner for more than 20 years. And what you'll see on exhibit are things from marine culture, tugboat ropes, iron rods, fishing nets, and nautical knot tying. And he employs them in a way that tells stories and often offers commentary about the environment and about how we need to protect and reuse and recycle and be conscious about the way we use materials. So he takes a rope that's going to probably wind up in a landfill, and he fashions it into a beautiful sculpture. And he's telling a story not only about the life history of that rope, but he's giving commentary on something specific. And it varies from sculpture to sculpture. But there's something extravagantly beautiful and serene. And they're very meditative, these sculptures. And there are many different thoughts. So some are very sort of calming and zen, and others are sort of controversial, and you'll just have to come and check it out.
It's what's curious to me is that somebody has the presence of mind to create art out of a rope. I mean, nobody would. I certainly wouldn't think of that. And then you have somebody like that who's, oh, wow.
He has an unbelievable awareness and respect for. An awareness of the aesthetic qualities of the material, and he enhances that in the way that he uses it. So something so very ordinary, you see this rustic beauty and the wear and tear of time, but it's just extraordinarily beautiful. And it'll make more sense when you're standing in front of it.
Yeah, so that exhibit's coming up tonight. It opens tonight as you do it, and it goes through October, you said,
the end
correct?
of October.
Which is plenty of time to go see that.
Yeah.
We got a couple minutes left. I want you to touch on the website for people. All sorts. If you haven't visited the website, there's all sorts of information about what's coming up, what have you. Huge.
Yeah, please sign up for our newsletter, and then you know what's coming up next month and the next month and a half. because there's always something fun going on.
Right, and for people who might have questions, because again, you do have the hours of operation again for folks?
Thursday through Sunday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Okay.
And also, we have nightly programs. So the second Tuesday of the month is dance. And the last Wednesday of the month is poetry. The first Friday is live music. So
Something happening.
there's always, yeah.
Yeah, and again, the website, and you have a Facebook page, you have all sorts of stuff. So
We're on all social media.
Yeah, there's no excuse for you not to be able to see what's going on because it's out there for you.
And we're on all the local calendars.
Yep. People have questions? How
They
can
can
they,
email
how can they get
me.
in touch with you?
Well, executive director at newbedfordart.org or info at newbedfordart.org. New Bedford Art. Yeah, I hope I got that right.
It's
yeah.
New Bedford Art Door. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I think the website's fabulous because you
Thank
really
you.
keep up to it. And the newsletter, if you don't get it, I know you send it to us here. It's very informative. Lots going on, and it doesn't take too much time to read it. Just here it is. Here's what we got going on. Stop by. Memberships, if people are interested in that, do they
On
call?
our website, absolutely.
Okay.
Social media, you can get to it through our social media or our website.
Okay. So certainly going up. Anything else coming up in the next? I know you've got the exhibit starting tonight. Anything else that you want to promote right now? We got about a minute left that I want to give you an opportunity to. Any other exhibits you want to highlight for the folks that are watching at home?
We have our Transformations exhibit, which is called, Transformations, which is the Call for Art. It's a juried exhibit that ends on August 25th, and it's a Works on Paper show curated by Eric Scheiner, guest curator. And then we have Notes on Resilience, which was our Juneteenth celebration exhibition, McLeana Gomes and William Kennedy. And then in the fall, I mentioned we have an exhibition of William Bradford,
Right.
and we're doing that in partnership with the library. And then following that, we'll have an exhibit. We'll have an exhibit of nebulae. So it's going to be a science and art exhibit.
Science.
Gorgeous, really, really beautiful pictures of the cosmos.
You sell it well.
Oh, thanks, thanks.
That is going to do it. Thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate it. Lots going on. Again, check out the website if you're interested, and definitely stop by the rope exhibit for tonight. Sounds great to check it out as well. My thanks to Suzanne for coming in, and again, stop by the New Bedford Art Museum in downtown New Bedford. Address?
Directly across from the library, diagonal from City Hall, 608 Pleasant.
My thanks to her for coming in. Thanks to you for watching us. That's going to do it for this edition of A Conversation With. I'm Jim Marshall, the New Bedford Cable Network. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you again soon.